SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
If you're feeling anxious about your investments with all the economic volatility and chaos in Washington, tune in to SuperTalk Jackson on Wednesdays from 9 to 10 a.m. and Sundays from 8:30 to 9:30 a.m. for Element Wealth Radio with Jeremy Nelson. Learn more at myelementwealth.com.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now
what is it about making it? What is it about getting out of bed that's so much more difficult when the rain is falling? I don't know what that is, but it's a thing. It is a real thing. Good morning. Welcome to Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi. Glad to be with you. Love for you to join the conversation this morning on the C Spire text line. The number for that, 601-879-4395. Give your business the edge with gigabit fiber from fiber internet from C Spire. Learn more at cspire.com. C Spire, inspired by you. You do know that, Lance, is a scientifically proven fact. If it is raining outside, it is more difficult to get out of bed.
I would have to agree with that 100%. And I think you may be the only one getting rain right now. That little sliver between Memphis and Grenada, it's just hitting you.
I just pulled up the radar. I was like, man, is the whole state getting rain?
No. I even have the Hawaiian shirt.
Much.
I got the Hawaiian shirt on today to celebrate. I walked out the door, and I said, no. I'm going back in and changing. I looked up, and I saw blue skies, and the birds were chirping. I pulled in the driveway here, and the sun was out. I was like, man, it's been so long since the morning hasn't been overcast that I didn't know that the sun was out this early yet. So It is creeping up early now. So, it should be a pretty day.
You've got cloudy with occasional showers. High of 78 today. Winds out of the southwest at 5 to 10. About a 50% chance of rain. French Camp. Rain showers early. Some sunshine later in the day. High of 81. Again, winds out of the southwest, 5 to 10. Taylorsville. Going to be a nice day for you today. Partly cloudy. High of 85. Winds at the west-southwest. 5 to 10, and the award for the prettiest day goes to Wiggins. Sunshine, 86, breezy. What a day across the state of Mississippi. We are glad to be with you this morning. A lot going on, a lot to get to. We've got guests this morning at 7:30. Chief Randy Tutor will join us. He's the police chief in the aforementioned Pontotoc, Mississippi. He's also president of the Mississippi Association of Chiefs of Police. This is National Police Week. We'll talk with him about what law enforcement is up to, how the legislative session that is most recently completed impacted them, and find out what else is going on at the association. Also, Lucie Devier is going to join us this morning. And she is a tennis pro at the Goose Creek Tennis Club and has started a youth program. And it is really, really growing fast. So we'll learn a little bit more about that this morning as well. On this day in 1914, one of the greatest to ever lace 'em up, American boxer Joe Louis was born. World heavyweight champion for 12 years, from 1937 to 1949, born in Lafayette, Alabama. Joe Louis was pretty darn good, wasn't he?
He was a bruiser, man. Come on. Yeah, you didn't want to get in there with him. He had like cinder block hands.
Mm-hmm. It was an unconventional living arrangement, but it was one that was entertaining to a lot of people. American Tony and Emmy award-winning actress Bea Arthur, born on this day in 1922. Most famous, I would say, for the Golden Girls.
Yeah, it's got to be.
She was also a singer born in Brooklyn, New York. Who was the best Golden Girl?
I kind of like the mother.
Okay.
Yeah, what was her name? Getty. Yeah, I think that was her
Let's see,
name.
you had Blanche and you had Rose and you had...
Her real name, her real name.
Yeah.
What was her name?
Oh, no, I was thinking characters. I don't know.
But she played that part. She was much younger than playing the older lady, the mother of B. Arthur. She was actually around B. Arthur's age, but played the part so well. I grew up on it. My mother would miss them, and then every rerun in the history of Golden Girls, she's probably seen 20 times. So
I love it.
Yeah.
Man, TV was a little different. And look, Golden Girls they kind of pushed the envelope a little bit. There were some
Hot topics.
storylines that were a little edgy for that time in the 80s when that was running. Will it ever stop raining? It's been a while since I've seen this much. That's on the C Spire text line.
I felt like it too. But hopefully we'll have a little break today. And it looks like tomorrow might be pretty for the state as well. So may get a couple decent days.
Jim Jones, born on this day in 1931.
Crazy
pastor,
man.
Leader of the People's Temple cult, known for the Jonestown Massacre. Randolph County, Indiana is where he was born. It's too bad he didn't drink the Kool-Aid first.
And I've always been fascinated with that story. Anything that you can ever get on that tragedy is something that I've dug in over the many, many years. And recently they've come out with, more stuff. It's kind of like the same stuff, but interviewing those that did survive and the carnage that the first responders saw when they first arrived. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, it just, goodness gracious.
Stevie Wonder, born on this day in 1950. American singer-songwriter in Saginaw, Michigan. You were the sunshine of my life, Sir Duke. I just called to say I love you. Oh, the great Stevie Wonder. Dennis Rodman, 64 years old today, born in 1961. Won a championship with the Chicago Bulls. What an odd bird.
And a hostage negotiator.
Spent a little time in North Korea. Making relations with the North Koreans. Not like international relations. Trying to create good relations. Never mind. Morgan Wallen's 32 today. Born in 1993. Singer-songwriter, country music genre. Whiskey Glasses, Wasted on You. Last Night. Born in Sneedville, Tennessee. Tried to play a pair of concerts in Oxford one year. He made it through one. Didn't get around to that second one. Had to come back a year or so later to make that up.
Yeah, Oxford's hamstrung a few people in
He's
their
not
lives,
the
so,
first that claimed a victim.
The velvet ditch will grab you.
Yeah. Not controversial in the sense that, I guess a little controversial in that he's made some pretty poor decisions. Throwing the chair off the roof of the building on Broadway in Nashville into a crowd of people below was not a top-shelf decision for Morgan Wallen. But I tell you what, he packs them in for concerts. I mean, he packs them in. On this day in 1607, English colonists led by some cat named John Smith established Jamestown at a second landing near the James River in Virginia. First permanent English settlement in North America.
I want to stay chronological here. I have one for you between this one and the next one. So,
how do you think that Johnny Smith knew that it was the James River?
He named it.
Like, had somebody already put a sign up?
Yeah, there's a street sign over there.
It's like, hey, this is the James River. Okay, well then we'll call this.
Yeah, we made it.
We're going to call this Jamestown.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if he hadn't known the name of the river, why wouldn't he named it Johntown?
Yeah, Smithtown.
Smithtown, yeah, Smithville.
Hey,
all right. What have you got?
I have a good one for you here. 1637. I love the obscure stuff. According to tradition, France's Cardinal Richelieu invented the table knife. He reportedly had the tips rounded because there was too many of the guests that were using it to pick their teeth. So that happened in 1637. So thank Cardinal Richelieu for rounding off your butter knives. Yeah, so,
very good.
Yeah, people wouldn't sit there and use them as a toothpick.
Apparently, Lafayette, Alabama is like Lafayette, Mississippi, pronounced that way. Everywhere else it's Lafayette or Lafayette. I just took a guess. I didn't know there was another Lafayette, but there is. So, thanks for the pronunciation correction this morning. You're the best. This day in 1767, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart's first opera, Apollo at Hyacinthus, was written when he was 11 years old. It premiered in Salzburg.
You'd say that would be like a child prodigy, right? Yeah, Stevie Wonder was a child prodigy. Mozart would have to be if he wrote an opera at 11.
That people came and paid money to listen to?
Yeah, and it's still people know about it today.
History repeating itself. In 1846, the United States Congress voted in favor of President James K. Polk's request to declare war on Mexico over border disputes. See, everything that's old is new again.
Yeah.
Just getting started with you. Good Tuesday morning. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
Keeping Mississippi in the know, one morning at a time. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
It's interesting to me, you know, some people's brains just work differently. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, like, I could make a Congress joke here and maybe we could all chuckle, but that's not what I mean. I mean, like a big challenge for my brain is, you know, how do I balance this lawnmower on its back two wheels while I put the deck back on, and I've got to get, you know, all of the holes lined up to get the bolt right through it so that I can attach the nut and do this all by myself. So it's like trying to do multiple things at once. I'm just thinking of a recent like challenge that's somewhat, it's not even engineering related, but it's the best example I could come up with. We all know about Elon Musk and Tesla and SpaceX. But the lesser-known company that is most fascinating to me for Elon Musk is the Boring Company.
Yeah, that's the coolest one.
Boring.
Boring holes.
They dig tunnels. And there is a video. If you want to watch it, you can go on X to @Boring, Boring Company.
One of the most highly advanced machines that we have on the planet Earth.
Well, let me tell you what this thing's doing. All right, so you want to dig a tunnel, you got to have some folks down there to dig it, right? Operating the machines, doing whatever. Nope. That's not what they're working on at Boring Company. The Boring Company has continuously mined in a 0 people in tunnel configuration. They call it a Z-pit. Nobody in the machine besides the videographer that's shooting the video that we're watching here, which is simultaneously advancing forward and erecting a ring, i.e. building the tunnel, with each ring weighing 24,000 pounds. In the same way that full and rapid reusability is the holy grail for rockets, Z-pit continuous mining is the holy grail for boring machines, safest, fastest, and least expensive architecture to build tunnels. It's digging the hole, ejecting the matter that it's mining to open the hole and building the external wall without a soul, not one, in that machine.
What is going to be even cooler, and they will invent this one day, that I can assure you, but instead of the big conveyor belt that gets rid of all the rock and everything that pushes it out the back, they'll find a way to turn that into the ring one day. Yeah, that's what I know. They're working on those things to use every piece of that instead of having all that stuff that has to be put out and the junk that comes out the back. But I mean, it's like this huge earthworm that just keeps digging through at a constant pace, nobody there. And you get this amazing tunnel when you're done. Mm-hmm. Just let it go on autopilot. Just say, hey, man, cut me a tunnel from L.A. to New York. We'll check back in with you here in a bit. But no, that is one of the most amazing machines I've ever seen.
That's pretty aggressive there, but Los Angeles.
Yeah.
You want to avoid traffic, here's a tunnel. But also perhaps the way to lay infrastructure for our decaying grids, pipes, sewers, etc.
Well, electricity in tunnels would be much better than electricity on lines. So some point we got to figure that one out.
Marshall and Terry says ratchet strap, couple of drift pins, a few miscellaneous tools. It's a 30-minute job. Got to think out of the box. That's why Musk is so smart. He knows no limit. Marshall, other than the 30-minute job, you're about right. There was a ratchet strap involved. Floor jacket was involved. Yeah, absolutely. Churchill's first speech as prime minister came on this day when he famously said, I have nothing to offer but blood, toil, tears, and sweat.
Everybody in the parliament was like, oh, goodness.
Addressing the British House of Commons. This day in 1977, Howard Stern began his professional broadcasting career at WRNW Radio in Briarcliff Manor, New York.
Sounds palatial.
Yeah, look, he has turned into an A1 nut job. There is nobody that was more affected mentally, I don't think, than Howard Stern by COVID. But there's no question that's a guy that revolutionized talk radio as we know it today.
Yeah, I have no idea how he got away with half the stuff he was doing through the FCC.
You got to go back and watch the Howard Stern movie that came out 25 years ago.
Oh, I've seen that many times. As a kid listening to him on radio going, how's he getting away with this stuff? Yeah, Goodness gracious.
And he did
push the envelope.
1989, approximately 2,000 students began a hunger strike in Tiananmen Square, China, to force a dialogue with the government ahead of a visit by Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev. Whew. Some of the most horrific images as that situation advanced as you will ever see. June 4th was kind of the culmination of that, but it all started with a protest and a hunger strike. All right, how about some news headlines this morning? Oh, yeah, we should get Tim Walls on to tell us all about it. Hey, Timmy, you were there. Tell us what you remember about the Tiananmen Square massacre.
Yeah, he was sitting Indian style with his book and hot tea over there, watching it.
Brother, the news just keeps getting better for Meridian native Jamal Roberts. Jamal!
Goodness.
Advanced to the top 3 of American Idol on Monday night, staving off elimination to land in the ABC Singing Competition's Season 23 finale coming up on Sunday. It was night 2 of Double Disney Night. He started out with Ain't No Mountain High Enough. Marvin Gaye, Tammy Terrell, but later used in the iconic locker room scene in the hit film Remember the Titans. Second song of the night was Beauty and the Beast. Brother, it was gorgeous. Both performances had judges Lionel Richie and Luke Bryan on their feet. Carrie Underwood could barely speak. She said, I can't say anything over this crowd. Jamal, let's win this thing, baby. Let's win this thing. Over 19 million votes came in during the 2-hour episode. Roberts was one of 3 singers who will be back on Sunday night, joining Louisiana's John Foster and Brianna Nix. Like Roberts, Nix has shown abilities as a crossover artist, taking on multiple genres. Last night, they sent Slater Nally and Thunderstorm artists home. So Sunday night, 3-hour season finale. They'll bring in guest judges to perform. The 3 finalists will perform. The judges will perform. Go get them, Jamal. Man, about 11:30 last night, I got sucked into a rabbit hole with American Idol stuff. Maybe it wasn't the rain that made it hard to get out of bed this morning. Maybe it was the hour that I spent watching music from American Idol.
Yeah, your prep today, when I saw it, I was like, man, he was up late with this. And then I noticed that you put a lot of love into Pepsi Pops, too. So
I'm actually, look, if I were
would
in
be fired
Jackson,
up, yeah.
100% would be at Pepsi Pops.
I've been to it many times over the years. It's a phenomenal event. Been going on forever, too. So
Yep. The Mississippi Symphony Orchestra, Pepsi Pops, delayed due to inclement weather in Jackson this past Friday. They're going to get after it this weekend. 44th year at Old Trace Park at the Ross Barnett Reservoir. A symphonic spin on chart toppers, movie themes, Broadway hits, and patriotic fare. The Jackson Symphony League first hosted the Outdoor Pops concert in 1969. Brown Bottling Group has continued the popular community staple since 1981. Program highlights from this year: Wicked, Elvis, Wind Beneath My Wings, Spinning Wheel, Unchained Melody, Grease, Twilight, some of John Williams' finest hits. All get started at 5:30. The symphony will begin at 7:30. Picnicking is a Pepsi Pops tradition, but food will be there as well. And you're encouraged not to bring glass bottles and drinks. Encouraged is not always the same as forbidden, so just perhaps be smart. Lawn chairs, blankets, picnics, welcome. Pepsi Pops, that is coming up this weekend. Very, very cool. We're back with you. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi.
Know where the news is going next. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
She traveled all around, all across this country. Met a lot of people, made a lot of friends. She got the feeling of the swamp playing running through her blood. She going back home, but she don't know when.
You heard me talk before about, Lance, this is, I think as long as you and I are together, you'll hear me from time to time say this. It just boggles my mind how two people can look at the exact same issue and see the world through such a different lens. Jimmy Kimmel, not particularly funny. With Joe Scarborough.
Oh, that's like two.
Talking about Donald Trump. It's only 20 seconds that I'll expose you to. Take a listen to this.
I'm an optimistic person. I'm not hysterical. I laugh when people say, oh, you've got Trump derangement syndrome. I think if you're a reasonable person, you should have Trump derangement syndrome. And by the way, I think he has derangement syndrome about us, too. The fact of the matter is, this is a dangerous person. This is a stupid person, and that's a bad combination. And I'm an optimistic person.
I think he genuinely believes that. When he shifts, the fact of the matter is, this is a dangerous person. This is a stupid person.
Everybody's entitled to their opinion.
Yeah, you're entitled to your opinion, but that's the fascinating thing. That assessment of Donald Trump actually makes me think, if there's a stupid person, Jimmy, it's you.
Well, I mean, didn't he cry like on TV because Trump won?
But because there's no evidence to point to Donald Trump as a dangerous and stupid person.
But have you, and I guess just taking this a simple way, have you ever, because of an election of any official, gone on air or any place and bawled because of you didn't get your way, you didn't get what you wanted?
No, if I didn't get what I wanted, I got out of bed and went to work the next morning.
And then did you spend a year or two or three, complaining about that one thing either as your platform?
Tend to kind of move on, brother.
Yeah.
It's what adults do.
So, yeah, I think you're dealing with someone who truly does have some derangement. I don't know if you want to call it Trump derangement syndrome or what, but, there's something wrong.
But think, I mean, to say as seriously, this is a dangerous person, this is a stupid person. Like, you could believe that Trump is dangerous and not like him, think he has no heart, think he's not compassionate, think he's not, think that he's manipulative, whatever you want to think. But even if you don't like Trump, is stupid the word that you would use?
I doubt that would
can
be
you
the
be
first one.
stupid to have the business success that he has had over the course of 5 decades? And I know there have been some valleys in there, but largely he's been successful. Can you be stupid to come from political obscurity to 2-time president of the United States? Can you be stupid to figure out a message that resonates with over half of the United States that is sick of people like Jimmy Kimmel? Does that really define the word, the phrase, the idea of stupidity?
Well,
and if you think that does, aren't you the one, Jimmy, that's stupid?
Well, I mean, I think slander and libel, too, maybe come into that. I mean, you got a platform to convince people of something. You have no evidence to suggest that he is stupid or that he's dangerous.
Well,
and
that's not slanderous.
Well, making a false or spoken statement damaging the reputation of someone, that's slander.
Yeah, but a public figure's held to so much of a higher standard. That's not.
Oh, I agree. I'm just saying, when you really look at it, is this – I'm not saying Trump should sue anybody. My point is that
he sued plenty.
Yeah, we've got somebody here throwing out some pretty fiery darts with no evidence to back it up. And if people want to believe that, I guess that's their prerogative. But Jimmy Kimmel has no credibility when determining the sanity of anyone. Go back and look at the things and listen to the things he said about Joe Biden.
Chancery Judge Jim Persons ruled on May 8th that the Grand, which has rebranded itself as Harrah's Gulf Coast, is the sole owner of a piece of land off US 90, just west of Oak Street. The court ruling was a blow to efforts by the Secretary of State's office, Michael Watson, in attempting to classify properties like this one as public tidelands. Persons predicated his decision on a similar decision by the Supreme Court last year. State's High Court sided with a local family, the Aldrichs, over the Secretary of State in an ownership dispute over property where the defunct Lady Luck Casino used to reside. There have been 5 tidelands disputes that have been lost by the Secretary of State's office, with the courts consistently siding with the landowners. Litany of local officials along the Gulf Coast have supported businesses in their cases against the Secretary of State's office. The courts have also consistently maintained that local governments are responsible for leasing out waterfront properties, and that is not the jurisdiction of the state of Mississippi. Interesting stuff there. You kept up with those previous cases?
Yeah, Michael Watson's been on and discussed it a bit, and it's been interesting. Ricky also. It's one of those, for the better part of 2 years, that's been ongoing since I've been sitting here, and it's nice to finally see some resolution there. for whoever. I know that you don't want to see those types of things lingering around forever. Who owns what? So glad that that's resolved. But it's been going on for a while, yeah.
Well, really going on for a while. In the most recent case, the local judge acknowledged that the grant's property was part of a 1784 Spanish land grant that existed prior to Mississippi gaining statehood.
Yeah, you could say been around for a while, right? She's going with 1700s.
Yeah. D1 baseball new top 25 is out. Southern Miss moving on up. Ole Miss moving on out after the results of the weekend. Southern Miss has won 12 in a row. They are up to number 19 in the most recent poll. From D1 baseball, Ole Miss falls out for the first time this season. Maybe there was a week or two early in the year where they were not in the top 25. The number one team in the country, LSU. Teams from the SEC, Texas at 3. Auburn at 6, Arkansas at 8, Vanderbilt at 9, Georgia at 10. You got Tennessee at 17, Alabama at 18, followed by Southern Miss in there at 19. Florida, who started 1-11 in SEC play, has moved back into the top 25 at number 23 nationally. Gators playing better baseball as of late.
I love when O'Sullivan, when one of his guys is not throwing strikes, he'll go through 8 pitchers in an inning. I mean, he is
not afraid.
No, he's going to pull them all, man.
Mississippi's first high school girls flag football championship belongs to St. Martin High School after the Yellow Jackets defeated George County 18-0 in the state championship game on Saturday. The win capped off the inaugural flag football season. The team from St. Martin, which joined 13 other Mississippi as a state joined 13 other states to sanction the sport earlier this year. St. Martin, led by their starting quarterback, Jalen Wynn, and a dominant defense in their shutout victory. St. Martin and runner-up George County were joined by 10 other high schools participating in the pilot season. You had Brandon, East Central, Macomb, Meridian, Oak Grove, Perry Central, Picayune, Richland, South Pike, and Van Cleve all doing this. I think that's just a prediction based on some anecdotal conversations. You are about to see girls flag football pop up all over the state of Mississippi. Fun to watch, fast-paced, low cost, got all the right ingredients.
Oh, yeah. I remember when we were in high school, you did the powder puff football thing. And
yep.
Oh, that was so much fun being the coaches for that. Mm-hmm. My sister was a great little football player. So
my oldest daughter played in that at Oxford this past year.
Richard, I'm going to be honest.
I went and watched it.
I'm going to be honest with you. My sister and I would bet people in college at Ole Miss, and it was always, she always won. We went, and we would basically say, hey, do you think my sister could throw a junior high football 40, 45 yards? And nobody was like, no, there's no way a girl can throw a football 40, 45 yards. I don't care for TDY. And, we won a lot of money doing that.
There you go.
And then she got to kick at halftime at Ole Miss for the free tuition. And she practiced so hard for that. And she was bombing them from 30, 35 yards. Got up there, and she made it to like the third round, could have won it, topped it, didn't get it through. But great athlete, though, my sister is.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Mississippi State was supposed to play North Alabama later today.
See you later, huh?
Bulldogs saw the result of North Alabama and Ole Miss earlier in this year, and they're like, no, boss, we're going to shut this one down.
There's no reason to play these games this time of year.
I'm kidding. State's baseball game with North Alabama scheduled for this evening, canceled. It was a reference to all of the rain that the Golden Triangle had gotten in recent days, with some predicted rain in the forecast as well, and both teams just shut it down. As it stands, Ole Miss scheduled to play UT Martin later today. I guess they're going to move forward with that. I think the rain's going to be out of here. Thanks for being with us on this Tuesday morning. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi.
From the Venable Glass.
No filibuster. Just everything you need to know to start your day smarter. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Your update from the Mississippi Lottery starts now. No jackpot winner last night for Lotto America, actually on Monday night. Estimated jackpot for tonight's drawing up over $34 million. $15.46 million, that's the estimated cash value. The numbers from Monday night's drawing, 2, 8, 9, 20, 42. The star ball was 3. The all-star bonus multiplier was 2. Powerball, tomorrow night's drawing up to $106 million with an estimated cash value of $48.2 million. Monday night's numbers 15, 16, 41, 48, 60. Powerball was 21. The power play multiplier was 3.
Well, if you were playing double play, the numbers from the Monday, May 12th drawing, 23, 45, 53, 54, 57. Powerball of 18. I'm sure I would have never guessed those, that's for sure. Mega Millions, no jackpot winner. The jackpot for tonight's drawing, $110 million. You get to take home $49.4 million of that. The numbers from the Friday drawing, 9, 10, 12, 48, 60. Mega ball of 16.
Mississippi Match 5, no jackpot winner. Estimated jackpot tonight, $410,000. Monday night's drawing, 7, 11, 14, 21, 25. That is... Man, that's a number combination that I could see some
you could
people
win that one
landing on.
Yeah, that one's in there in the top 25. That's what always gets me is you start getting out of that like 20, 25. I would have never thought of them.
Yeah.
Cash 3, $500 Monday midday drawing, 161. Evening 655. Cash 4, $5,000 midday drawing, 5306. Evening number 7257. Fireball at 8 and a cash pop of 15 during the midday drawing. The evening Fireball was 3, cash pop of 10.
Got a lot of stuff going on at the Mississippi Lottery right now.
I wonder how they come up with all the names for the different
You mean
games.
like Pink Panther Diamond Tripler bonus promotion?
Got it, man.
The next to last drawing, penultimate drawing, coming up this Thursday, May 15th. Cash prizes of $15,000, $10,000, $5,000, plus $300 gift cards. You can go to mslottery.com to become a lottery insider, to become one of the first to know about the winners. You got the NASCAR Powerball playoff rolling on. You got sizzling summer cash rolling on with 3 new scratch-off games. $2 heat stroke, $5 blazing hot bucks, $10 red hot cash prizes up to $200,000. And, of course, you can always enter your non-winning scratch-off tickets into the second chance games. But we need to tell you about some winners.
Well, I want to say, I'm going to start using penultimate more. That's a great and a good $5 word there.
Yeah.
Slipping that in conversation.
Vicksburg woman won $3,100 on a ticket from Alcorn Supermart in Vicksburg. Aberdeen woman won $5,000 on a ticket from Tobacco Warehouse in Columbus. These were on Cash 4 scratch-offs. And how about this? Circle K in Jackson delivered big winners for a Jackson woman who won $8,100 on 2 tickets, and a Vicksburg man that scored an impressive $22,400 on 6 tickets. Man, how about that roll?
No, $30K, yeah, right there.
Ooh.
At one place, 2 people.
No doubt. What else you got?
I got a cash pop winner there, Columbia man and a Canton woman, each won $1,000 on tickets from Fleetway 183 in Columbia and Kangaroo Crossing 102 in Lexington. A $3,000 winner, a Kennedy, Alabama woman on the Lotto America. Ticket purchased at Sprint Mart 4107 in Columbus. And then a Match 5 winner, a Shaw player, won $1,000 on a ticket from Atwood's Beer and Tobacco in Cleveland, Mississippi.
An old 15X crossword scratch-off, $15 ticket. Ripley man won $1,500 on a ticket from Tobacco Warehouse in Ripley. And then had some winners on the $20 200X Cash Blitz tickets. Players from Meridian, Slidell, and Slidell, Louisiana, that is, in Ripley, all won $1,000 on tickets from Pine Springs and Meridian, Kroger and Richland, a Dodge store in Ripley. And from McLean in Greene County and Abbeville and Lafayette County each won $2,000 on tickets from Circle K in Beaumont and Spot Stop in Oxford. Then you had a Bonito, Texas woman who won $5,000. Thanks for passing through on a ticket from Love's Travel Stop in Tumsuba.
Well, we hadn't heard Shibuda lately, so I'm thinking it'll pop up soon.
It's coming soon.
Yeah,
Probably want to buy those tickets in Shibuda. That's your update brought to you by the Mississippi Lottery. Online, mslottery.com. It's mslottery.com. Thanks to our friends at the Mississippi Lottery. Hey, one more sports nugget I want to throw out at you. Always interesting when it goes this way. The Ole Miss men's tennis program has announced a new head coach. One of the top young rising coaches in the ranks of collegiate tennis, Jake Jacoby, is headed to Oxford. Now, the fact that Jake Jacoby is the new tennis coach is interesting enough in and of itself. From where did Jake Jacoby come? Serving as the associate head coach at Mississippi State since June of 2019, helped lead the Bulldogs to the NCAA championships in each full season that he's been in Starkville, including making it to the Elite Eight this year. Ole Miss taking Coach Jacoby from Mississippi State and giving him the opportunity to be the head coach. Once proud Ole Miss men's tennis program has not been as consistent as of late, trying to inject a little life into that program. 7 o'clock hour coming up. That means the news is next. This is Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
Pour yourself a cup of coffee and get the Magnolia State's most important news of the day. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Sweet Jane, the sweet, sweet Jane, waiting for Jimmy down in the alley, waiting there for him.
This hour of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by MWG Employer Services. Running a business is tough, and if you're struggling with HR, benefits, and payroll, you are not alone. That's where MWG Employer Services comes in. They can provide a full range of employer services plus a custom plan that fits you. Give them a call today. The number 601-206-7966, or go online to mwgemployerservices.com. Just giving you a heads up, on Thursday, Mornings with Richard Cross and Middays with Gerard Gibbert will be in Lowndes County for the unveiling of the Cinco Megasite. You have heard our friend Joe Max Higgins talk a lot about this. This is Unveiling Day. The new development projects will mean a huge economic impact to the Golden Triangle. The event is brought to you by Golden Triangle Development Link. Looking forward to being there on Thursday. New polling numbers are interesting. Rasmussen has kind of rolling poll averages. Mark Mitchell is one of their pollsters. Interesting follow on Twitter. Last couple of days, he has been, incredulous is not the right word, but genuinely surprised at the numbers. Rasmussen generally considered to be fairly accurate and not to be overly biased in their polling numbers. I think all polls to some degree are biased. Presidential approval index. Strongly approve of Donald Trump, 38%. Strongly disapprove, 38%. That leaves about a quarter of the population somewhere in the middle between strongly approving and strongly disapproving. Among Republicans that were polled, 64% strongly approve. Interestingly, 19% of Democrats strongly approve of the president's job. Only 13% of Republicans strongly disapprove, while 62% of Democrats strongly disapprove. They have a measure called the right track, and it's not about the president so much as it is about the country. Is the United States on the right track? 49% of those polled say yes. 46% of those polled say no. And then you've got a few there in the middle. Among Republicans, 75% of those polled say that the country is on the right track, while Democrats, 1 in 4, say, yeah, it's moving in the right direction. Wrong direction, 21% of Republicans. Some of those are probably senators and congressmen. 68% of Democrats say it's moving in the wrong direction. Why is that interesting? Because the approval rate, or the country is on the right track rate of 49%, is on the verge of a new record. If these numbers hold until Thursday of this week, Mark Mitchell at Rasmussen says right direction has never been this high, which is interesting. We'll keep an eye on that. So, a lot was made of the initial news out of the United States and China kind of getting to a spot where they can continue negotiations. But Democrats are spinning this as absolutely nothing happened. And worse, some Democrats, like Chuck Schumer, are spinning it as China got the better of the United States and Trump again. Responding to the White House announcement about the trade deal being reached in Geneva between the United States and China, Chuck Schumer said this: "Sadly, it looks like China once again got the better of Trump. Another example of Trump chaos. He has one policy one day, one the next. Who knows what it'll be tomorrow?" Not 100% sure that I follow the logic there from the senator from New York. Especially when you look at it this way. Chinese tariffs on the United States are now at 10% for the next 90 days. That is lower than the tariffs that China had on the United States before Donald Trump was elected under Joe Biden. United States tariffs on China are now at 30%, and the number on fentanyl imports is actually significantly higher than that. Those U.S. tariffs on China are higher than they were under Joe Biden. And so the tariffs now favor the United States more than they favor China, which is the inverse of what it was just a few months ago.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You're speaking facts, though. Yeah, I don't think that Schumer's too interested in those.
So here's the thing. There are a lot of people that have said, well, we're right back where we started. You know, did the stock market have to go on the roller coaster that it went on for the last 6 weeks, since April 1st, April 2nd, when Donald Trump announced tariffs on China and then pushed them higher and then pushed them higher again? Well, let me ask you a question. Do you think if the United States had just gone to China and said, hey, we think that there's a little bit of an imbalance right now, a little bit of an imbalance, and you're not really being fair to us in the trade world, would you mind changing those? No, we're good, thanks. Appreciate the call. And this is what I don't understand from the people that are saying, well, look, we're right back where we started. Nothing happened. We didn't have to go through the turmoil of the market of the last 6 weeks. Where exactly is the market? Yesterday it closed at about 42,500. In futures, it's down 0.5% overnight. Down 15 basis points overnight on the S&P 500 and down 5 basis points on the NASDAQ. All of those numbers up significantly from where they were 6 weeks ago. So the net gain of this, if you're looking at the markets as a bellwether, the net gain of the uncertainty of the last 6 weeks is up in all three major American indexes. How do you look at this and go, well, see, you really didn't accomplish anything?
Wishful thinking. You were hoping nothing would get accomplished.
If nothing had changed, like if we were status quo, exactly where we were, no tariffs had been put in place, what's the guarantee that the stock market would be up over the last 6 weeks? maybe you wouldn't have had the dramatic fall that you had that generated news headline after news headline after news headline. But you can't know that for sure. Now, some are saying that, well, the 30% tax that American businesses and consumers are paying is, it's the same. You're no better off than you were. Well, if it's less than it was when this whole mess started, you are better off than where you were. And the Chinese, so that's what you're paying on products that are coming into the United States. But the tariffs that are being paid on imports into China are now lower than they were, which should be good for those products that we are exporting, that are going into China. There's actually a really interesting thing that is going on, and I'm anxious to see, and I don't know how much news coverage you're going to get of this. And I know this based on like personal experience. I think some of you know that my wife owns a women's boutique in Oxford. And for the last month, she's been getting notices from her vendors that prices are going up. Right? That the things that she is buying for her store, she's having to pay more, and those vendors are saying it's because of the tariffs. So my question is this. Were those just preemptive measures? Or did those tariffs actually affect items that are supposed to be coming in months from now? And this is not just unique to my wife's business. I'm curious about this across all of business. When suppliers have gone up on their prices for the people that they are sending product to, are they immediately going to drop those prices to back where they were as the threat of tariffs or the implementation of tariffs has actually gone down? I'm skeptical of that. We're back after this.
From the Venable.
Shaping Mississippi politics each morning. Mornings with Richard Cross. Super Talk, Mississippi.
C-Spire text line. You can join us, 601-879-4395. 601-879-4395. Your team has you covered on the field. C-Spire has you covered everywhere else with the best technology for homework and on the go. Backed by 24/7 customer support. Learn more at cspire.com. C-Spire, inspired by you. Tim says it's taken a few months for some of our products made in China to go up, so it will take a few months for the prices to go down. Temporary pain for future better prices. Tim, it hasn't been a few months. April 2nd is when the Chinese tariffs were announced, when it went to 145%. Or maybe it was April 3rd or 4th later in that week when they went to 145% because there was a little back and forth there. So it's been right at a month. And we've seen prices go up, at least anecdotally. And you say it'll take a few months for the prices to go down, and maybe that is the case. Thomas kind of agrees. He says, heck no, quick to rise, slow to fall as always. But my question is this, and, maybe you could say that this is an argument. We were kind of talking a minute ago about, hey, what's the net of all of this back and forth? And maybe this is why the entire tariff idea was a bad idea. Clearly, the market reacted positively to the news that the tariffs were going down or going away. Not going completely away, but going significantly down. Think about the supply chain conversation that happened during COVID, right? I mean, March of 2020, COVID rolls in, and over the course of the next year, saw prices steadily go up, and we heard about supply chain issues. What have those prices done since then? They may have gone down a little. But I'm just using the construction world as an example because we were looking at a construction project about that time and have subsequently done a different one, but one subsequently we've done. And if you compare the price of building, whatever you're building, a deck, a home renovation, building from scratch, guess where the prices are compared to where they were in 2020? I would conservatively say up 40% across the board. Lumber's higher than it was 5 years ago.
Everything is. I mean,
PVC pipe, steel.
I'm not
concrete.
trying to build a house or anything, but I can tell you the dollar doesn't go as far as it did 3 or 4 years ago. I can just tell you that. So I don't know on case sensitive or specific items, but everything seems to be higher. Gas, that's the up and down, but
yeah,
everything else seems to have kind of stabilized higher than it was, and it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah.
They're not asking me, so
no, I'm with you. And Thomas asked the question that I asked a second ago. Wonder where the market would have gone if he hadn't done anything on tariffs.
Well, if you want prices to come down, and again, it's supply and demand, scarcity creates upside, and when everybody wants an item there's few of, prices will continue to go up to reflect that. But if you want them to come down, stuff has to sit on the shelves a bit, and we're not good at that. And I'm not being critical of anyone. I'm the same way. When you want something, you generally try to go get it. But if prices are to come down holistically across the board, there's got to be inventory sitting to the point where people go, well, we might as well sell this at less a profit. So if you're not retail, you know how retail works. I mean, they have a price point in which they purchase, and they have a price point in which they sell. And that's usually very different depending on the item.
You get this message, says I work in the commercial construction industry, and price per square foot has gone steadily up since COVID.
Yeah,
it's 100% accurate.
Yeah, mother's a realtor. She can tell you all about that.
Yeah.
And rent rates have too, my friend. I mean, way higher. I mean, homes that were $1,250, $1,300, $1,400 are going for $2,000 to $2,200 now for rent. So, I mean, everything has had a tendency to trickle upwards here, and it ain't come back. So.
Another message says they won't go down because tariffs are paused for 90 days. By then, we will be used to the price and they won't adjust. Used to it, I don't know. But, again, I am skeptical that you will see prices go down.
They only go down when you don't buy stuff. That's generally the way it works. Again, it's not 100%, but things have got to be sitting. And retailers have got to say, well, we've got to sell this stuff because we got to place orders for the next cycle and the next cycle. We can't have all this over here.
Yeah,
that's where prices come back. It's hard to do that with food and spoilable items because, if you leave bread on the shelves for a while, people start losing money and maybe they start dropping prices. But spoilable items are a little different.
Somebody said, I thought your wife was a pharmacist. I say she's an expat pharmacist. She maintains her pharmacy license, but has not practiced in, about 7 years. So, thanks for asking. Getting to know you with Richard Cross. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi. We are glad to be with you this morning. So, the plane conversation is still making news, right? The whole plane for Trump, for the Department of Defense. I found a really interesting post on X yesterday from Buzz Patterson. Buzz Patterson is an author, pilot. He is a 2-time bestseller on the New York Times, and in his Twitter profile, he says, former carrier of the nuke football. He's been around government and the military for a long time. And he had a pretty detailed post about the plane. Here's what he says. The Qatari Boeing 747 in question was built in the United States by Boeing. They are offering a newer 747 to replace one of the 2 current Air Force Ones that have been flying for 40 years. Those planes are tired and they need to be replaced. The wing, based at Andrews Air Force Base, has also purchased aircraft from other countries in the past, some of which are currently flying our vice president and senior government officials. This is not new. Qatar is offering this plane to the United States military, not to Donald Trump himself. The Department of Defense contractor is based in the United States. They are not, unironically, he writes, also working, he says they are also working to upgrade the FAA technology that is out there as we speak. If you've got to fly in and out of Newark, good luck, by the way, as an aside. Says they will get the aircraft, the Department of Defense and its defense contractor will get the aircraft and perform all the security and installation of the systems that Air Force One requires to safely move the president around the world. The Qataris will not be doing that. He points out that you and I will pay for that to happen through tax revenue, but we won't pay the $400 million that the 747 would normally cost. Says the Air Force One will serve the sitting president, whether Republican or Democrat, until Boeing gets their bleep together to complete the new, upcoming, improved 747s, a process that started during the Obama administration, was negotiated during the Trump administration, and was ignored during the Biden administration. It is most likely that 2029 or 2030 will be the earliest delivery date for the new Boeing 747s that will be Air Force One. Does that change how you think about the plane conversation at all?
A little bit. I'm still wondering why Boeing is so slow and inept at getting a plane done in 40 years.
That may be the biggest issue in all of this that nobody is talking about. And you pointed out yesterday that, Boeing has been steady losing money for the last decade. They are not operating in an efficient way. They underbid significantly on the cost to build these two Air Force Ones, and now they're in a pickle. So do you tell Boeing just get it together?
Look at any of those military contracts that they've been getting, and maybe Trump's a pretty good negotiator.
But where do you turn?
Yeah, where do you go to get the plane right?
Right,
you just start.
Do you go to another airplane construction company, another plane company? Bombardier doesn't specialize in building jets that big. Does McDonnell Douglas even exist as a company anymore?
Maybe just go, get a blimp. Yeah.
Do you just tell Elon, hey, we need you to start an airplane company?
Yeah, that's kind of where I was thinking. You just, hey, build us a plane, Elon. Come on.
I guess Airbus still manufactures planes. Fascinating stuff. Like most complicated issues, I'm not sure it's quite as black and white as lots of people have made it out to be. It's where we are, though. Randy Tutor joins us next, police chief from Pontotoc and president of the Mississippi Association of Chiefs of Police. Segment of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Mornings with Richard Cross, here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
What else?
And always on the SuperTalk app.
There was a wealthy merchant in London did dwell.
Thanks for being with us. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. Glad to have you along for the ride. If you are in the part of North Mississippi that's getting rained on, be careful this morning. Maybe give yourself a couple of extra minutes on the way to school or on the way to work. And for the rest of you that are looking at blue skies and sunshine, well, congratulations. We're a little envious of you right now. Randy Tutor is the chief of police in Pontotoc, Mississippi. He is also president of the Mississippi Association of Chiefs of Police. Chief Tutor, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Richard. Thanks for having me.
All right, so this is National Police Week. What does that mean?
It means a lot. We get to celebrate a lot of different things. It's a celebration for the living, a celebration for the people who died. We kind of let people know what we do every day, and this kind of brings that out.
Chief Tutor, it's been a difficult handful of years for police departments across the United States. You and your colleagues are dealing with things that I know have got to be frustrating, and yet your officers and officers all over the state of Mississippi and the country keep coming to work every day. They keep working to keep us safe. Where is morale among police officers, both in your department and as you've seen kind of anecdotally across the state of Mississippi?
Richard, it's like you said, it's been a tough couple of years. When you turn the television on and you see people in the street calling us everything that I can't say on the air.
Thanks for that.
It's it's tough, but I'm speaking for the majority of the people that wear the badge. We still go out every day and do this, and it goes back to the thing that you've probably heard a million times, but it's so true. This is not just a job; it's a calling. When you put the badge on, I've never met many of the police officers that weren't special people. And I guess that's the way I feel, because it is a calling. And I'll give you a quote. The Fraternal Order of Police put something out a couple of days ago that really hit home with me. It says, law enforcement officers walk into every shift knowing it could be their last, but they go anyway. That's not a job. That's courage in its rawest form.
Amen to that. Visiting with Randy Tutor, Chief of Police in Pontotoc, President of the Mississippi Association of Chiefs of Police. I'm curious, so you said a second ago, you turn on the television and you see the way that law enforcement officers, both local, state, and federal, are being treated in a lot of places. But I think that the part you don't see is maybe the other side of that, because I know at least here in Mississippi, there is a very significant portion of the population that is very, very grateful for law enforcement. And they go out of their way to make sure that police officers, sheriff's deputies, and so on know that and hear that, whether it's, picking up the check for a meal or just stopping by and saying thank you for your service. How far does that go? If we're having that morale conversation, how important is that for your officers and officers that don't work for you to hear that encouragement also?
Oh, that's absolutely one of the reasons we come to work every day. I know one of the biggest things here in Pontotoc is one of our, here at the main part of the police department, our little sitting room. Mm-hmm. We've had classes from the local schools and from some of the clubs and things, but they bring us food, they bring us posters and things like that. We actually have all those on the walls back there in that room. And that's just a reminder of what you just said. We are supported, and in Mississippi, I think we're blessed, because just like you said, the majority of the people want us and need us, and that's right. That's why we come to work.
Would you talk to me a little bit about interagency cooperation? If you read books or you watch shows, you always hear about the turf wars that exist between law enforcement. Whether you're talking about federal, where the FBI and the CIA don't get along, or local, where no, this is the sheriff's jurisdiction. It's not the police department's jurisdiction. What is agency cooperation like here in Mississippi, from DPS all the way down to the local level?
Well, that's one thing. Living in Mississippi, we're a smaller state. That's one thing that I think we have such a head start on some other places. There's I've been doing this about 40 years, and there's not many places that I can't pick the phone up and call somebody that I actually know that I've laid eyes on before. As far as working with the federal guys and the state folks, we have a real good relationship, and I think, and I say that for most police departments in the state. I've seen folks get mad at each other. Somebody might arrest somebody real quick or something like that. But when it gets down to the nitty gritty things, we're all in this to make the streets safe. And if you make the arrest or I make the arrest, that really doesn't matter. So, we're all human. That's going to happen every once in a while. But as a whole, Richard, I think Mississippi's lucky that we are able to work hand in hand with most people.
I was just thinking as you were talking, one of the things that we've seen a rise in Mississippi in recent years is legal concealed carry. And to get that concealed carry license, you've got to go through, a safety training course, and you got to be vetted through there. From a police officer standpoint, is that something that is concerning, or are we safer as a state? And are we safer locally because of the concealed carry laws that are in place?
Well, the way the law is written, that person that gets that concealed carry, he has to do basically what we do every day. He has to go through certified training and all that. It's not concerning to me as far as, because there's, if I stop you and run your driver's license, I know if you've got a concealed carry. So it's not a big secret. So the way the law is constructed, we haven't had here in Pontotoc or anywhere in the area, we've never had a problem with anything concerning that. So again, if we run into you and have opportunity to run your ID or whatever, we know if you've got that concealed carry, so it's not really an issue.
If you pull somebody over and you run that license and you see that, and your officer comes back to the window, do you ask, hey, I know you've got a license to conceal carry, are you armed right now? Do you ask that question, or you just assume that the answer is yes?
Most of the time we're going to ask that question, just for a safety, for a safety standpoint. I'm going to tell you what happens a lot of the time, Richard. If we stop somebody prior to us getting his ID or her ID, that person who has lawfully went and got a gun, went through the training and all that, he or she's going to tell us if he's armed at that point, and that happens quite often.
Yeah, and I guess that's a good way to do it. I want to ask you one last thing before we wrap up. Last time we visited, we were talking about legislation that was being considered at the Capitol. Is there anything that happened from this legislative session that you felt great about, or something that was really concerning to you?
Well, we had the retirement, the thing with PERS that was attached to HB1, and the Tier 5 thing that's coming out. I just don't know. I really think it's going to affect hiring and retention. Really? And we made that point. We put that point out there. That's that's one of the things that's concerned me more than anything else, because we're already having problems getting folks to come do this, and now the retirement's changing. We're gonna have to work longer, and it's going to, in my opinion,
affect recruiting.
Hurt.
All right, Chief Randy Tutor, thanks as always for your time. Great catching up this morning, and safe travels to you.
From the Venable Glass.
Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Good morning once again to you. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi. Thanks for joining us this morning. C Spire text line is open. If you would like to participate in the conversation, we'd love to have you. 601-879-4395. In sports and business, having the right team behind you matters. Partner with C Spire today for business solutions from dedicated certified IT engineers. You can learn more at cspire.com. C Spire, inspired by you. You know the phrase, it's complicated? Sometimes those two words can just mean so very much. And I wonder if this visit to the Middle East by President Trump and the envoy from the United States falls into the it's complicated range of things. You know that, I say you know, some of you know that in the golf world, there has been great discussion about the involvement of the Saudis with the PGA Tour and their funding of Live Golf. And you've got certain commentators who have been just adamant from the get-go that Saudi Arabia is simply trying to buy a better reputation. Sports washing is the phrase that has been used a lot, that their investment of sports is supposed to endear people to look past some of their human rights atrocities. What is the role that the United States should play with Middle Eastern countries who culturally are very different from us, who historically are very different from us, and who from a religious standpoint have a belief system that is very different from ours? And that's where I get to the it's complicated thing. So, Mohammed bin Salman, the Saudi crown prince, broke protocol, and he actually went to the steps of Air Force One as Donald Trump was getting off the plane and met him. That's not how it traditionally has worked in Arab countries, and specifically in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. A lower-level emissary of the crown prince would go and greet the visiting dignitary, but because it was Donald Trump, because it was the President of the United States, MBS said, nope, I'm going to do that. And there's a lot of pomp and circumstance. You had a Royal Guard horse escort that, brought the beast, the presidential limo to the palace. And you got business leaders, executives from massive American companies like BlackRock and Planeteer and Blackstone and Citigroup and Qualcomm and IBM that are also in attendance for this major investment summit. Should the United States be in business with Middle Eastern countries? It's complicated, right?
Well, it depends on how much you believe in separation of church and state, I guess. So,
well,
I mean, that has a lot to do with it.
I guess that's part of it. But I'm thinking about it, Lance, more from the standpoint of what lots of these countries support.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm going with that.
Is Qatar funding Hamas? Is Saudi Arabia
those are
funding terrorist organizations?
But
Saudi
these are
Arabia
religious
behind the funding of the 9/11?
Oh, I agree, but these are religious types of problems, and or religious issues where there's distinctly different ways of thinking because of, say, Sharia law, or because of that. The mindset that the Quran promotes, and there are many different takes on the Bible too. But in Arab states, they're very much meshed with religion and state leadership, whereas here, Western democracies generally have chosen to separate that. And so I think that's one of the touchy issues that makes it extremely complicated, as you were saying. It just is no easy answer with anything you're dealing with a government that has a religious mindset. I don't think so, because you're basically saying everybody else is wrong. And that's what every religion says that. It isn't just them.
There's no question that Islam plays a huge role in the way that Middle Eastern countries are run. Thomas points out, though, he goes, it's not religious issues that are the issue, it's state sponsors of terrorism.
Yeah, but they do that
I agree with that.
But they also do that under the auspice of some very far left or right religious type of mindset.
Yeah. So when a country that is as wealthy as Saudi Arabia is, and there is a shift, right? I mean, there are those that would point you to Jamal Khashoggi and his brutal murder, the journalist that was, arrested and tortured, and his bones were sawed up, like literally. So these people haven't changed. But is there a change that is taking place? Mohammed bin Salman, as Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, whatever his intentions are, has had a very different approach to business and Saudi Arabia's role on the world stage over the last decade. It's complicated. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi. News is next.
From Sumner to Summit to Summerall, Richard has something for you. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Good morning once again. Welcome to the 8 o'clock hour of Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi. Thanks for joining us. Glad to have you along for the ride. We welcome you to join the conversation on the C Spire text line at 601-879-4395. Just a heads up, middays with Gerard Gibbert will be at Itawamba Community College in Fulton on Friday for their 2025 spring graduation. You'll hear about all the incredible things happening at ICC and how they're training the future of Mississippi's workforce. Got our next guest on the line this morning, and excited to visit with Lucie Devier. Please.
Hey.
Did I get that right?
Yeah, kind of.
All right.
It is hard with the American accent,
All right. Say it for me. say it for me.
Lucie Devier.
Devier. Okay. I think that was closer.
Better.
That was closer. Maybe not exactly right, but closer. Lucie, I appreciate you joining me. Lucie is a tennis pro at Goose Creek Tennis Club, and she is running a new program for children. Lucie played her college career at North Texas and then at Ole Miss, graduated about a year ago, so still a relatively young graduate, but has stayed involved in tennis. Tell me about the Rising Rackets program.
Sure. So we just implemented that program with my director, with her help, and we want it to be based more with like a European approach a little bit, and mix it up with the American approach at the same time, take the best of both. And we're driving to have a fun and equip the kids with fundamental skills and with a lot of fun. And we graduate classes. We have graduation this Sunday if the weather holds. So this is what we're trying to do, and to make it fun and give those kids opportunities for their future.
And Lucie, this is about starting young, right? Players as young as 3 up through the age of 12. Is that right?
That's right. So at 3, we're more making them be in the group, listening to the coach, having fun, running, screaming, hitting a ball, having a racket in their hands. So it's a lot of fun. We love that class. It's a lot. So yeah, we go from age 3 to age 12, and the best is to go after 12 and enter the academy that we just started beginning of March too.
You mentioned a second ago trying to blend the teaching styles and the approaches of European tennis and American tennis. What are the differences in terms of the way children are taught the game?
Yes, of course. I would say in France we have a lot of playing, a lot of kids in a group setting. We don't have that many private lessons. And we do work a lot of techniques in Europe. The French Federation really thinks that technique is one of the biggest assets for a tennis player. So we're trying to do that by keeping the hard-working part of Americans and the fun, and also a lot of group setting, a lot of playing in front of each other, being independent on the tennis courts earlier. And so I would say that's what it is.
Yeah, tennis obviously is a game that has been around for a really long time, but I feel like in terms of popularity, it's growing. Maybe that's local to where I live in Oxford. I know we've got a massive tennis community in Jackson, on the Gulf Coast, and in Hattiesburg, in smaller towns as well. We've been to New Albany before. They've got an incredible tennis program in New Albany as well. Is there more of a focus on growing the game of tennis right now than there's been in recent years, or maybe even ever, in the United States and in Mississippi?
Probably. Yes, 100%. So I think it's been growing. Like we have seen the stats. I don't remember exactly the numbers, but it has been a worldwide growth about tennis. Everybody looks like is loving this game, and that is a great thing. Now we are leading into more like an approach that is better with more people, that is growing, and we want to make Mississippi be a bigger state for tennis, with kids that go to nationals, with kids that can go to D1 programs, with kids that are more aware about all those opportunities within tennis. For sure, it has been shifting.
You know, it's interesting to me. There's some sports that have got barriers to entry, right? I mean, if you want to play golf, you know, you've got all of the costs that are associated with equipment, and then finding a golf course where you can get on and being able to get there. And are you the right age to have a golf cart? With the proliferation of travel baseball, you've got equipment cost and uniform cost and traveling all over. Tennis feels like it's pretty readily available. If you could get your hand on a racket and a can of balls, there are tennis courts that are available and are free everywhere you turn. Does that make it attractive to maybe a wider range of young people to try the sport and see if it's for them than maybe some other sports do?
Probably. So there are two things about tennis that is working more. I have a lot of kids coming and saying, well, I can play tennis my entire life. Which is true too. It's like tennis. It's a lifetime. You can play. You can be 40. You can be 50. You can be 60. I have a 93 years old player right here. That is amazing. So I think this is one of the biggest things. But of course, there are affordable sports. Once you get into it, like you can take your friend and go play on the public courts, and you don't have to pay. And 100%, it is a thing that can be affordable if you make it. 100%.
Yeah. Lisa and Brandon asked a question on our text line. She says, where is the Rising Rackets program located? Rising Rackets is at the Goose Creek Tennis Club in Oxford. But, Lucie, to kind of broaden this out, we talked about the growth of tennis across the state. Are there other communities in Mississippi that have a similar focus on super young kids and getting them involved at an early age? Are you seeing that in other places too?
Yeah, so I'm not aware about a lot of them, but I know in Gulfport, Mississippi, I know somebody that is very involved in it too. We talked a lot about those little 5 years old kids playing tournaments in the club and make them happy. So I know in Gulfport they have, I'm pretty sure Jackson has a lot of things like this too. I'm not aware about a lot of it, but I know the Coast have tons of good players too.
Don't most communities have a tennis association of some sort, or I guess maybe looking at the USTA's website is the best way to kind of find what's available locally?
That's what I would say. USTA would be the best, and looking online, probably making some research and looking clubs that are available next to you all and see the program they propose.
My son plays tennis some, and a couple of years ago played in the state tournament and some local tournaments as well. And one of the things that struck me is the talent. I mean, whether you're talking about 8-year-olds or 10-year-olds or 16-year-olds, the talent in Mississippi and kind of the surrounding areas is off the charts good.
I agree. We have tons of great players. We have talented players. I have 4 years old that comes here, hits the ball, 3 years old that comes and naturally is good. And I'm like, wow, there's something to do right here. And I think we're lacking of a lot of following through the journey for each player. So I hope we can try to do that with my coworkers here, with my director. We're trying to do the best job out here to lead those kids throughout their journey, to stick with the talent, and not losing them with baseball, like you say. Baseball is big, football is big in America, so it's also one of the things that we're trying to do, make them love tennis a lot, that they stick with it their entire life.
You were an all-conference player in college, finished your career at Ole Miss. What caused you first to fall in love with tennis?
What college?
No, what caused you to fall in love with the game of tennis?
I don't know. Honestly, I just went there. I was 6 when I started, and I fell in love right away for no reason. I don't know. Hitting the ball, this feeling of hitting it clean, like this feeling of like the sound of the ball and the effort and practicing it. I don't know. I just really loved it. And this group setting back home in France was one of the best things too, probably. Having a great group of friends around me helped me for sure.
The program is called Rising Rackets. If you want to read more about it, you can do so on our website, supertalk.fm. It's at Goose Creek Tennis Club in Oxford. It's available for players ages 3 to 12. Lucie, thank you so much for your time. Continued success, and hope you're raising the tennis stars of tomorrow.
We're trying.
Outstanding. Thanks so much for your time this morning. Lucie Devier. I don't know if I got it right, but I think I was close again, and she's very forgiving for name pronunciation. Mornings with Richard Cross. That was fun. Take a quick time out. We're back with you right after this. Alongside Lance, I'm Richard. More MRC coming up.
From the Venable Glass.
Morning, partner. The sun is up, the coffee is on, and you're starting your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross, here on Super Talk, Mississippi.
We are only 5 full weeks removed from the world is coming to an end as it pertains to the economy and the decisions that Donald Trump was making. So many that were outspoken in their disdain and their distrust for Donald Trump and for what he was doing economically, tariffs, trade deals, all kinds of things to be concerned about The Senate Banking Committee held a meeting when they were talking about nominees coming in. And famously, Elizabeth Warren was quoted as saying, Donald Trump is driving the economy into a ditch. Trump's tariffs are breaking our economy. Trying to stop the dumbest financial decisions in American history. Inflation slowed more than expected in April, despite tariff-related price pressures building. From CNN, U.S. inflation slowed to its lowest rate in more than 4 years. An unexpected and welcome development at a time when President Donald Trump's dramatically escalated tariffs are expected to cause prices to rise. Consumer prices rose 0.2% last month, bringing the annual inflation rate to 2.3%, a cooler reading than the 2.4% seen in March, according to the Consumer Price Index data released today by the Bureau of Labor. He's driving us into a recession. 3 straight months of lower inflation numbers than anticipated. He's a nut. He's crazy.
Oh, he's stupid too, yeah.
Stupid, Jimmy Kimmel said. Driving the economy into a ditch. Is there a point on this Trump spectrum where you go, maybe we ought to let the guy cook?
It's the old saying from, Looney Tunes, if you can't beat them, join them. At what point do a segment, it's not going to be all the left, but at what point do the ones with a brain not rattling around just being critical, at what point does reality set in? Can it set in if there's so much vitriol and hatred? When you look at it, though, doesn't look near as bad as they want you to believe it is.
Employment numbers have been steady. Inflation is consistently going down. Stock market is up. And as we speak, President of the United States and the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia are signing a series of agreements on energy, defense, and other areas of global concern. And then, of course, on Monday. So is today Tuesday or Wednesday?
I think it's Tuesday, right?
Today's Tuesday. So, yeah, yesterday, you had Trump come out and sign the executive order related to the reduction of prescription drug costs. Is there anything more predictable than Republicans disagreeing with each other? Anything? It's local, it's state, and it's federal. Senate Majority Leader John Thune signals his possible opposition to codifying President Trump executive order into law, lowering drug prices to match those from other developed nations, saying that the plan would be, quote, fairly controversial, close quote. That's not the opening salvo that you're hoping for from the Senate Majority Leader when the president signs an executive order that will fulfill one of the major campaign issues. And the funny thing is, it was the Democrats who were trumpeting, hey, elect us so we can lower the cost of prescription drugs. We did this with insulin. We're going to lower costs, lower costs, lower costs, lower costs. And yet 110 days into his presidency, Donald Trump signs what could be a game-changing executive order if Congress will enact it into law and it can get through the courts, in which Americans would pay 30 to 80% less for their prescription drugs. By the way, you want to talk about something that's good for the economy? We are not a sickly family, but we have, 3 kids, 15 and under in school. We live in the South where allergies are a concern. So we've got some, monthly allergy medications. And I see the bill that we have at the pharmacy every month. And for the first 6 months of the year, it's way higher than it is in the last 6 months of the year because you're trying to meet that deductible. Or you're working toward meeting your deductible. I went and got refills last month for my wife and myself and I guess one of my children. And the bill was $500. So, well, not far enough into the year to have met your deductible. Okay, that's what it costs. 30% reduction on a $500 bill is $150 less. An 80% reduction on a $500 bill is $400 less. You want to put more money in people's pockets? Money that most people don't have a choice as to whether they spend or not. If you have prescription drugs that you are taking on a maintenance level, on a month-to-month basis, you need those. You wouldn't be taking them if you didn't need them. Nobody enjoys just popping. Most people don't enjoy just popping pills for fun. Right? If I said to you, hey, would you rather take this medicine or not take this medicine? You would prefer to not take this medicine. I had really bad seasonal allergies that led to chronic sinus infections, and you could almost look at them on the calendar and see they were going to happen twice a year, once in the spring and once in the fall. For the last year and a half, I've been taking just daily sinus medication. Basic stuff. Singulair, Zyrtec D. You get it through a prescription. I have said to Jane, gosh, I wish I didn't have to take medicine every day. But you know what? It's made me feel better. It's made me be able to do my job better. Or I'm not, all the time. You know that noise you make that's so off-putting. So why is it that Senator Thune and others in Congress would call this legislation, I'm going to get it exactly right. What was his word? Fairly controversial. Could it possibly have anything to do with where campaign contributions are coming from?
Hold on now. You're going there? Come on.
Yeah,
no,
you're darn right I'm going there.
I'm playing.
I got a list in front of me.
No, of course it does.
United States senators with pharmaceutical contributions over the last 24 years. I'm not going to read all of them. This is not limited to Democrats, not limited to Republicans. This is U.S. senators over the last 24 years and the contributions they have received from Big Pharma. Michael Bennett, a Democrat from Colorado, $1.5 million. Bob Casey, a Democrat from Pennsylvania, $1.8 million. Kevin Kramer, a Republican from North Dakota, $150,000. Ted Cruz, Republican from Texas, $300,000. Dick Durbin, Democrat from Illinois, $1 million. Kristen Gillibrand, Democrat from New York, $800,000. I'm just cherry-picking names. I'm just scrolling and grabbing names when I see a number. John Kennedy, Republican, Louisiana, $200,000. Amy Klobuchar, Democrat, Minnesota, $700,000. Joe Manchin, Independent, West Virginia, $600,000. Mitch McConnell, Republican, Kentucky, $2,020,462. Bob Menendez, he's been in the news lately, $1.47 million, a Democrat from New Jersey.
No matter where you're from, Abbeville, Batesville, D'Iberville, or any other ville in the SIP, you're starting your day off right. Mornings with Richard Cross. Super Talk, Mississippi.
I went home with a waitress, the way I always do. How was I to know she was with the Russians too?
Great to be with you on this Tuesday morning. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. Just to do the full transparency thing, Mississippi Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith, $100,000 in big pharma contributions in the time that she's been in the Senate. And for Roger Wicker, that number is $300,000. He's obviously been there much longer. Those are smaller numbers than some. Mitt Romney, one of the biggest benefactors of the pharmaceutical industry, $2.7 million. Chuck Schumer, $1.5 million. John Thune, who was kind of the starting point for this conversation, has received $400,000 in contributions from Big Pharma. Elizabeth Warren, $822,000, by the way. In all, you've got 98 senators listed here on this list who have received pharmaceutical contributions between 1990 and 2024. And I'm not saying that they should or shouldn't have received that. I mean, we know that industries and their lobbyists and their trade organizations support elections, and they support re-election funds. They contribute. It happens. It's just part of our system.
Does that mean it's right, though? Does that mean the system is ethical, moral, or right? I'm just playing the devil's advocate here because...
I mean, in a perfect world, Lance, do you just run?
Well, I mean,
based on the money that you raise from voters and before PACs, not get any other money? Yeah, really, I guess so.
Well, I mean, before PACs and super PACs, it was more simple. So let's be realistic here. So it wasn't always this way. It has, of course, we've always had the ability for people to contribute and businesses to contribute for campaigns, but not at the level you've seen in the last 30, 40 years. So I'm just, again, playing the devil's advocate, not saying that it's right or wrong, but is this an ethical system?
Oh, no, I wasn't disagreeing with you. I'm saying, would it be better if this wasn't in place? Yeah, probably so, because then you wouldn't have senators and representatives that are beholden to those who have contributed to them. And make no mistake about it. Big contributors expect return on their investment. If you are a business entity or a trade organization or whatever, you invest in the people that you think are going to carry out what is best for your business. Look, if you contribute individually to the campaign of a local alderman or council person, at the state level, to your representative, to your senator, to one of the statewide offices. Now, if you write a check for $200 to your local representative, do you expect to be able to get exactly what you want on every single vote? No. Maybe you're contributing because of a relationship. Maybe you are contributing because you believe that generally they're going to make good decisions for your community, and you're aligned, generally aligned. But did you watch House of Cards on Netflix years ago? It was a show that starred Kevin Spacey. And it wasn't 100% accurate, but there's a lot more truth before the storylines got super weird than some would like to admit. And one of the characters in that show, in that series, was loosely based on the Koch brothers. Did you watch that, Lance? Did you watch House of Cards?
Nah, not really. Yeah.
Okay. It was kind of loosely based on like a really, really wealthy, kind of eccentric Midwestern billionaire who was contributing heavily. And he had the soft, folksy exterior, but he expected to get what he wanted. And if he was contributing millions of dollars, pressure was immediately applied if things were not going the way he intended for them to go. And from that scenario, your elected officials are puppets.
Well, and you also had the foreign-owned and influence of corporations. While direct foreign contributions are illegal, U.S. registered corps that are subsidiaries of foreign corporations or have significant foreign ownership can spend money in U.S. elections. And then you have dark money groups, 501c4s, 501c6s, all that. So in those, you don't even have to disclose who the donors are. So, there are quite a few loopholes. One of my big worries is allowing foreign money into the U.S. election system through these types of entities.
But look, I mean, ultimately, so what's the question that we're asking ultimately?
Are senators and congressmen beholden to the campaign contribution they receive?
I mean more, yeah. I mean, generally, yes, but more specifically to this issue. Republicans that vote against this executive order when it comes before the Congress, are they going to be signaling to you, I am more concerned about the donations to my campaign from Big Pharma than I am to the pocketbook of my constituents? Is that the signal? Or is it more of a philosophical Republicans are against price controls, blah, blah, blah? It's probably the argument that somebody's going to stand on. Probably.
And, one of the things, I can't remember who said it, and it was maybe it was Warren Buffett is if somebody ever tells you that we don't want to do it that way because this is the way we've always done it, then you got a loser. Don't invest. Don't put your money in that. Don't believe in it. And that ain't me saying that. That's just saying.
There we go. Ceasefire text line. This is exactly why we should be concerned with the president getting a plane as a gift.
Well, we kind of clarified. It may not be a gift. It's more like a loaner.
I mean, that's the thing,
Laramie
right?
Tunsil loaner.
The way ABC News reported that from the outset was Qatar is giving the United States a plane, and it's going to be transferred to Donald Trump's presidential library in 2029, his foundation. That sounds like a gift. Not gift, but gift. But when you spell it out in a little more detail and you realize this is a plane that is going to be transferred from the Qatari Department of Defense to the United States Department of Defense in the same way that the United States gives / transfers / sells weapons and supplies and other things like that to countries all over the world. And it is a placeholder until the new Air Force One comes out. And I don't know if there is truth to it gets moved to Donald Trump's foundation and library when he leaves office or not. We saw that headline initially. We haven't seen any follow-up reporting on that, at least not that I've seen. The clarification has been more about, hey, this is not exactly the sensational way the headline was initially written. I know you're all shocked by that. Are you shocked by this? J.P. Morgan has just dropped its prediction of a United States recession in 2025. Wait, what?
Yeah, that got to be fake news, right?
That is not fake news.
It's not Babylon B.
That is not fake news. So, Goldman Sachs has been telling you recession, recession, recession. J.P. Morgan's been telling you recession, recession, recession. Bank of America analyst. I mean, there are a small number of people with small voices out there that are like, the biggest voice, by the way, that has been saying the fundamentals for a recession are not here is the Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Bessent. And he has said it over and over and over. We don't see the fundamentals for a recession in this U.S. economy. But big banking analysts have been telling you for months now, it's cooked in, it's coming. It's all going to happen. Going to be a recession, going to be a recession. But 3 straight months of inflation numbers being lower than predicted, and all of a sudden J.P. Morgan goes, well, we're no longer predicting a recession for the United States. We're back with you. We'll wrap up Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi right after this.
From the
All right, now to the important stuff.
Your VIP pass to hear what the most influential Mississippians are talking about.
This is very important.
Huge news. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Appreciate all of your interaction this morning on the C Spire text line. You can always get in touch with the show at 601-879-4395. C Spire, inspired by you. Good Things with Rebecca Turner will be in Meridian at the Max today for the Jimmy Rogers Festival, America's longest-running music festival. That's this afternoon. Good Things with Rebecca Turner from 2 to 3 right here on Super Talk, Mississippi. And on Saturday, Garden Mama will be at the opening of the Tupelo Farmers Market at the Depot. Tupelo Farmers Market at the Depot has locally grown vegetables, fruit, honey, flowers, and so much more. Be sure to check that out. Garden Mama this Saturday morning starting at
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
Hey, I'll say two of my favorite things you just mentioned. Meridian, Mississippi, and the Jimmy Rogers Festival. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, if you have an opportunity, you got to go. And two, obviously, I produced Garden Mama, but she's one of my best friends. And getting back up to Tupelo this weekend will be huge for her. We'll have a blast. And tune in because we'll have a lot of fun stuff going on.
You had somebody fill in for Garden Mama this past
week. Yeah,
Mark
Peaches Patrick. Mark hops in. He's an expert in the world of plants and flowers and just does amazing work, and he's a lot of fun too. And but yeah, that's kind of one of our guys, and he does a wonderful job and learning a lot too about being on the air. You know, he's it's fun. You know, when you get somebody that's thirsty to learn too. And Garden Mama's a great mentor.
Just in case you missed this yesterday, you got Trump the president, you got Trump the businessman, you got Trump the grandfather. You've also got Trump the comedian. Did you hear this yesterday?
I loved it.
A friend of mine who's a businessman, very, very, very top guy. Most of you would have heard of him. A highly neurotic, brilliant businessman, seriously overweight, and he takes the fat shot drug. And he called me up. And he said, President, he calls me, he used to call me Donald, now he calls me President, so that's nice respect. But he's a rough guy, smart guy, very successful, very rich. I wouldn't even know how we would know this, but because he's got comments. President, could I ask you a question? What? I'm in London, and I just paid for this damn fat drug I take. I said, it's not working. He said, I just paid $88. And in New York, I pay $1,300. What the hell is going on?
That was obviously a story to highlight the difference in prescription drug costs in the United States and in other places in the world.
I love the way neurotic is a compliment he gives. You know, that way he didn't mean that as a cut down. That was a total compliment.
Hey, what does he go? He goes, highly successful. He's rich. Really rich.
Top guy.
He's taking this fat shot drug. By the way, that is not any commentary on Ozempic and what it does. Ozempic has given a lot of people the jump start they needed to get going on their weight loss journey. You got some people that are using it, some people that are not. I mean, there's, there's tried and true exercise and eating less and all of those things. But there's some people that need a jump start. And if that is working for you, congratulations for it. But it was still funny the way that Trump told the joke.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
he said, I'm getting this fat drug. Trump goes, it's not working. It's like, there's got to be a little bit of a lifestyle change in there as well.
You can't eat like a horse and take it, I don't think. I think you got to back down a little bit.
Yeah. But supposedly it causes you not to be as hungry and all of those things.
There may be some other issues going on with the top guy other than just obese maybe.
Yeah. Mike in Madison, I've been monitoring the stocks and equities market for over a decade. Never listened to anyone who claims to know whether we're going into a recession. Every year there's somebody saying the market is going up and down. We only listen to those who happen to be right. Take the guy from The Big Short, Dr. Michael Berry. Did he get it right in 2009? Sure, but that same guy said in 2022 that we were entering the mother of all crashes. Obviously that didn't happen. People don't know what's going to happen. They take educated guesses, but nobody knows whether we're actually going into a recession. Sure, that's true, Mike. But those predictions are being made based on market indicators. What I'm curious about is whether or not political leaning affects what market indicators you put stock in. Like, are the people that were predicting a recession for the United States, are they politically slanted one way or the other? Well, we know Scott Bessent, Treasury of the Secretary, is appointed by Donald Trump. He obviously wants to see that there's not going to be a recession. But this is also a guy that has been really, really smart in the financial world for a long time. And he's like, the fundamentals for a recession just aren't there.
Pay attention to the fundamentals, definitely.
By the way, not having a recession, probably good news, unless you want to buy cheap. Thanks for being with us on this Tuesday. For Lance, I'm Richard. Have a great day.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.